so thrilled to welcome Kirsten Fonager from UNOPS. She's a leader in the L&D field, and she has introduced coaching into her organization. She uses coaching skills herself, and it's just a delight to hear her talk about this subject that she's so passionate about. So I would like to perhaps ask Kristen to take over from me, and perhaps share whatever it is that you want to share that you want our audience to hear.
Yes, excellent. Thank you very much. And first of all, Saba, thank you very much for welcoming and giving me the opportunity to also share a little bit about coaching that's very close to my heart and how we have managed as a team to, over the past sort of 6, 7 years, to actually introduce coaching in various settings into the organization as well.
Hmm.
And maybe just a few words about myself. I'm Danish. I've been with UNOPS for nearly 13 years now, and I work both in learning and development and in talent management in UNOPS headquarters here in Copenhagen in the People and Culture Group. And coaching has always been something very close to my heart. I think it's such a fantastic um, toolbox that you can tap into in order to develop people as well. So I think it's something that when we look sort of historically how coaching over the past 20 years, I've been in the field of HR for plus sort of 20 years, and how that has evolved over the years. I think it's really fantastic to see.
Thank you. Thank you. You're an advocate for coaching
Yeah.
and you're good at it, and you know how to share these skills with your colleagues and also how to enable them to learn the same skills. I'd like perhaps maybe we could start with how you describe, would you describe the coaching offer that is presently available at UNOPS for your organization? It's a huge organization, right? You're over 5,000 staff all over the world. So,
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And we operate in more than 80 countries and, of course, a lot of fragile countries as well. So, as I said, coaching has been a journey over the sort of past 6, 7 years within UNOPS. But we have actually incorporated coaching techniques in various of our learning programs during the past sort of, I think we started in one of the learning programs in 2015-16, where
Hmm.
we actually incorporated that as some of the key elements in some of the leadership programs, and where we also had the opportunity for participants to do what we call coaching labs in order for them as supervisors and leaders to actually try in sort of in a safe space amongst the other participants to try out some of the coaching techniques and also seeing the effect it had when you are managing a team as well.
Yeah.
And of course, you don't need to be a certified coach to do that. It's about learning some of the techniques and how you actually apply that in your day to day work. We also have a group of external coaches on
Hmm.
consultancy contracts that we use mainly for mid to senior level leadership functions. And that's also due to, of course, there's a cost associated with that. But this is very interesting to see sort of 8, 9 years ago, where we had a couple of consultancies. It was a little bit like, okay, here's a leader that really needs some development. Can we get a coach? Where we are today, where the leaders are coming and saying, for my own development, can I have a coach? So it's very, very interesting to see how that has evolved during the years. We also have one element that's really, really important, and that's part of our leadership mindset is, of course, developing our personnel as well. So at one point when we talked about career development and we have so many talented people within the organization, we came up with the idea to start a program what we called peer career guides. So
Mm.
this is something we did the first training just before 2020, so just before COVID hit and we were all sent home to work remotely. So up till now, for the past 3 years, we have trained 3 cohorts. So we now have 40 active participants of the peer career guides. They It's a very, very diverse cohort, all different levels of functions, different locations as well, and different backgrounds. And they have been through a 2 month virtual training where we have trained them in coaching techniques, in how to create a rapport, active listening, how do you ask open question, appreciative inquiry, and some of those elements that are the foundation of coaching. So this is an opportunity, something we have an offer to all our personnel is for them to book a 1 hour session with a peer career guide where they can sort of have a reflection about their career development before they actually have the conversation with their supervisor. Because within UNOPS is something we really encourage is for supervisors to, on an ongoing basis, have career conversations with their team members. But sometimes an individual may be a little bit unsure about what is it I actually want to do. And this is where the peer career guide session can support the individual in getting more clarity before actually having the conversation with the supervisor. So this is something we continue to do it, and it's something that's both beneficial for the individual but also for the peer career guides. They get to train more and more in using some of the coaching techniques, and they also get a lot of insight into different functions and locations within the organization. So definitely something that continues to be something we offer in the organization.
Wow, it's a really wide palette of different coaching services, might I say, or
Yeah.
offers that you have at UNOPS. It's highly advanced. You know, there different organizations have different levels of adoption of coaching. Some are just starting, you know, and hiring external coaches. Others are, you know, midway, and organizations like yours are really quite advanced in having deployed coaching across the organization with different aspects of coaching,
Mm.
the externally hired coaches, but this wonderful internally driven initiative of peer coaching. It's really great. I think also another sign that your organization is really advanced in the use of coaching is the notion that coaching is no longer something, you know, that's sort of done discreetly for people who may be having problems or something, but managers are actually asking for coaching. And this is really the best way to use coaching as a development tool, as increasing potential and growth. And so that's really great. Congratulations for all of this.
Excellent. Thank you.
And you know, one thing I'd like to ask you, because at the heart of everything, I always say in every working environment, at the heart of things is the individual, the
Mm.
person. And I'd like to ask you a more personal question about what led you to become a coach?
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting question. I think I've always had a passion for engaging with people. I've
Mhm.
always had a passion for helping, and I think maybe that comes from my original education as a qualified nurse. I qualified many years ago, and then I found out, okay, this HR is actually something that I really like as well. So I ended up taking a degree in international HR management instead. But I think it was having conversations with individuals on one-to-ones, also have been supporting on outplacement sometimes when positions had to be closed for various reasons, having those difficult conversations as well. And I think with the urge of wanting to help, I often found myself having a long to-do list after having these various conversations. So it ended up being extra work, but a lot of extra work because I wanted to be helpful. So I thought, okay, there must be something where I can still be helpful, but maybe not ending up with a long to-do list for me to do
Right.
afterwards as well. So I was very fortunately enough that the organization supported that I could actually qualify as a coach. And through that, this is where I really tapped into the tools and techniques within coaching and was putting me in a much better position, continuing to have these conversations, but actually sort of giving the actions back to the individual, because I think as individuals, we know our own capabilities and we are also able to take actions ourselves, but sometimes we just need someone to direct us into the right direction and for someone to support us in that reflection as well. So sort of it was sort of the urge of getting more tools and techniques that I could use in those conversations, but also for development purposes as well and to empower others as well. I find that to be a key element in what I'm doing. And definitely by having the being certified and getting insight and continue to practice, because I think coaching is something you can't just say, well, now I'm a certified coach and then tick to that and over and done. It's something that continues to evolve, something that you continue to develop throughout all the coaching engagements as well. But I definitely feel much better equipped now than I did before taking my education as a certified coach.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your personal path to coaching. And I really love the idea where you say you wanted to be helpful, and which led to you having a very long to-do list. And it is true that people who are sort of attracted to adopting a coaching mindset and coaching skills are generally people who are helpful. It's sort of a nice prerequisite to have, although you can learn coaching without necessarily having that instinct to start with. But it's true that coaching in the workplace enables people who are kind and generous and helpful to sort of professionalize that kindness and generosity into a method that really works and helps people and also develops the coach themselves, as you say, that you've also grown through this process. So let's go a little bit into more of the details of how you express your coaching skills at work, because I'm sure our audience will be interested in knowing, how does it actually happen? How does this person do it? So tell me more. How do you express your coaching skills in your leadership style?
Yeah, I think we are sort of a nature of we want to deliver results, and often things need to happen fast. So I think on a very personal level, I tend to, or used to be sort of, okay, but this is what we should do, and then action, and then we get executed and we see the results. But what I realized was that I think it's the balance of being the sort of the difference between directive and non-directive. So the balance between telling and asking. So throughout the years when I've managed people, it's been very much instead of, and especially when people join to the team and are new into an organization or to a function, of course, there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of new things people need to learn. But what I realized was at one point, and I'm thinking about an individual I managed some years ago, was keep coming to me and saying, "Oh, Kirsten, what should I do here?" And per instant, I was quickly just giving it a, "Oh, but this is what you should do." And then I realized, but that's actually not very helpful. First of all, I may not have all the right answers, and secondly, the individual may actually have a different viewpoint and different experience than I have. So why not tap into that, and why not sort of, as we talked about before, empowering someone? So what I started to do was to when the individual came with, "Oh, Kirsten, what should I do here?" I would always ask, "So what do you think?" And I remember the first couple of times the individual was looking at me, was like, yeah, but you're my manager, so you should tell me. No, but I think in this one, this is where there are different options. Do you have any experience into this, or what's your thought process about this? And slowly, I actually saw a development in the individual. So the individual would then come and saying, Kirsten, we have this issue. I've been thinking about it. I think we should do this. Do you agree? So suddenly the conversations we had were just elevated to a different conversation. And I also learned a lot and got a lot of insight as well. And of course, sometimes there's one thing to do and one way to go, and that's what you need to do. But I would say a lot of times there are actually different ways and different approaches to some of the challenges we were facing. So very much, and I think it takes time, especially in the beginning, because you need to invest the time to have those conversations. So it's longer conversations instead of saying you just do this and then the individual does it. It takes longer time, but I have just seen it paid off over and
Right.
over again, where I have just seen individuals growing in their own capacity. I have learned so much as an individual as well. And just by using the open questions, by using sort of it sort of elevates the conversation to a different level and part of the developing of others as well. And sometimes you may develop others outside of the function and then they may move to something else. And I've seen that as well. And even though it is a little bit frustrated because you lose sort of really good capacity, but then someone else gets to benefit that. And I think that's one of the key elements by being a supervisor is to focus on developing your team members as well. Um, and that makes me develop as well.
Yes, it's really interesting what you say that sometimes people develop so much that they actually move out and go and pursue their career elsewhere, and that's absolutely true. And another thing that I really like about your examples are the notion of elevating the conversation from just simple instructions to an exchange between two adult professionals. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who are listening to us who would like to have that kind of conversation, either because they want to be themselves, learn how to develop coaching skills, or because they'd really love it if their boss would talk to them in that way. So there is in the air, there's a desire for more humane and more constructive and more productive conversations at work. So I really thank you for having gone into the details of how you express your leadership. And I'm wondering, um, how do other supervisors use coaching skills in your organizations? Have you deployed this around? And well, you told me you do have you have trained people. How is it happening?
I think is, and of course, we have a very diverse workforce, and we have a lot of talented people also coming in. We have several people that are actually certified coaches from previous employment as well, and leaders that come with previous leadership experience as well. I think it's of course done on various levels, and it really depends on the function and the location. And I would say there are maybe some positions where it's easier to have that approach than in other functions as well. But of course, it goes under the umbrella of our leadership mindset where we're focusing about developing others, but also just the notion of giving and receiving feedback. So when you receive feedback, this is where you use one of the coaching techniques around active listening as well. But I also think the notion of just having the conversation, so the whole power in the conversation as well, we shouldn't underestimate that. That we as supervisors sit down and actually have a good conversation with our team members as well to talk about their development. So I think I see it more and more on various levels, and I think from a corporate perspective, this is of course where we implement some of these techniques in all our leadership programs, and we actually have leadership programs from the level of aspiring leaders up to the senior leaders as well. So we have different leadership programs catering for different levels of leadership as well. But the whole notion about giving and receiving feedback, have a focus around career development for individuals, is something that we expect of our supervisors within the organization.
Mm. That's great. This is really, that coaching or coaching skills, or that, that capability of guiding and empowering, and also at the same time being empathetic, is part of the leadership style or expectations of leadership capabilities. And that's really a very advanced stage of the adoption of coaching in an organization. I'm thinking of when you look back and when you started all this, um, how would you compare what it was then and the splendid programs that your offers that you have now?
Wow, I think it's just to see the whole evolution we've been through on what from the learning and development side, what we are able to offer now. On many other elements than the coaching techniques as well. I think it speaks to the importance on what is it that our personnel are looking for in their day-to-day development. I'm very proud to be a contributor to some of these elements as well, and I think it also shows that the organization have also really want to foster that culture of the
Mhm.
continuous development as well, because it's also how do we attract talent into the organization. So I
Yeah.
think it's some of the key elements, but of course it's something that has evolved over the years. Where previously, and I'm thinking back to one of my previous employments as well, where the whole learning and development was very very little. It was more like, okay, we have these mandatory courses you need to do, and that was it. And then to see where the whole learning and development have grown and where it is now in many organizations, because it's acknowledging this is what people are looking for as well.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
because we spend so much time at our work and we come in as a whole, we are not just a function. We are all individuals and come in with different desires for development as well.
Absolutely. It's the human element that is being
Exactly.
introduced through all the practices that you're adopting at UNOPS. And you're really very good at covering all the territory of development. And I'm wondering, is what are the challenges, given that you're so big and that you have offices all over the world? What are the challenges that you might meet?
I think, of course, one of the challenges is that we are all super busy. We are a project-based organization, and of course, in the end of the day, we need to deliver results for our end beneficiaries. I think that's always, and I think for all UNOS personnel, that's the focus we have.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is to how do you in a busy day, and also have to acknowledge that a lot of my colleagues are operating in very fragile conditions as well. And sometimes when you need to put time aside for your own learning and development, that can also be a challenge. So this is something we try to encourage as well. How do you ensure that you put some time aside, but also just the whole learning and development in your function as well? And this is what I think as supervisors, you need to have these conversations. You need to know what your team members, what their aspirations are, and how you, in your function and in the job they are doing, can support that development. And sometimes the development needs to be is maybe something that we are not able to offer within the organization. And we see that from time to time that people may leave the organization for something else where they develop further, and then luckily they come back with new skill set, new expertise as well. But of course, it is a challenge, as I think with a lot of organizations, is always to find the time for some specific development areas.
Yeah, and of course, when they're program oriented organizations, you're focusing on the core
Yeah,
mandate of your organization, on delivering the projects, on delivering the programs, often in very, very difficult conditions.
yeah,
And most organizations, that's where they dedicate most of their funds to. So learning and development is not the first place where the money goes. So I think it's really interesting, that you've developed so much talent, coaching talent
mm,
inside your organization, not only with just a small group of internal coaches, but you've, deployed this peer coaching so that professionals or employees in the organization can help others to develop their career. And you're also training managers and coaching skills, so you're creating the talent, the coaching talent,
mm.
might I say, within your organization, which of course is very useful, given that, I mean, having been there myself, I know that funds are not they don't come our way very easily. So I think that's really it's a very, very smart move. And I really salute you for doing that. How do you see the evolution of coaching in UNOPS? And you're already gone a long way, but how will it develop further?
Yeah, exactly. I think we are on a good journey, as you have identified. Of course, I would like to be able to offer it broader, and I think that's just because it is a passion of me, and I think it's that of course comes down to the availability, funding, and things like that. But I think it has a natural development, and I think over time we will see it even more. But we
Hmm.
still continue to tie it into various programs. And as you said, we have the peer career guides. And I think for me is the sort of the sign of success is when managers, leaders, senior leaders come and saying, I would like to have a coach for my development as well. That the sort of the whole transition from being okay, you really need some development to where the individuals really see I want to develop.
Right.
And I think we are already there. So I see it just something that just continues. Um, yeah. So it's a
Excellent.
journey, but I think we're on a good track there.
Yes, I understand. I think you are. I think they've created the momentum.
Yeah.
Maybe the first few years it was just a few people, but once you have it so widespread, the momentum is there and people are seeing the results also, the positive results. So we talked about mindset also, the coaching mindset and the way that impacts the culture. It's not only the skills, but it's the mindset that impacts the culture. Would you say that in terms of well-being or anyway, having a good organizational culture, has all this coaching, different types of coaching, has it helped? Has it had an impact?
Oh, it's difficult to say. I think sort of a culture is something that's growing within, right? And I think we are definitely continuing to develop our culture. But I think to we have a culture of the learning and development where, of course, coaching is part of it. We also have mentoring is also something that's an option, and we partner up with other UN agencies on a bigger mentoring scheme as well. But I would hope to say that that is part of the well-being. We also have dedicated well-being resources, something that's also very a high priority for the organization as well to ensure that we have proper offering for people to maintain a good work-life balance as well. But hopefully, I would say that the little water that the coaching is bringing is hopefully speaking into a positive culture within the organization as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Kirsten, for having answered all these questions and for having shared everything you've done at UNOPS. This is so valuable for any organization to hear, and in particular for our colleagues in international organizations who are also endeavoring in their each one in their own way to introduce coaching and this whole world around coaching and sort of positive leadership into their organizations. I think a lot of people can draw concrete tips also on how to go about it. Is there anything else that you'd like to share that I didn't ask you about?
Yeah, no, and I think one key element is actually to ensure that people are coachable, because it's not just to say, okay, we have an individual here that may need some coaching. When I speak to individuals in order to assess what would be the best solution for them here to tackle a specific challenge, is always to assess, is the individual coachable? Because as a coach, we are, of course, not telling people what to do, but we are asking the reflective questions. We are using the active listening. We are trying to tap into the previous experience of the individuals. So it is really important to, in order for an individual to really benefit probably from a coaching, you need to be coachable. You need to be vulnerable enough to tap into your own experience and your own resources. And I think a lot of individuals have a lot of resources. It's just a matter of getting someone to help you to unfold that. So I think that's one of the key elements. And often people are asking, "Oh, but what's the difference between the mentoring and the coaching?" Because there are some overlapping elements. But I think one of the key elements here is that within the mentoring, this is where you tap into the knowledge and experience of someone for them to share. But where within coaching, this is where you actually tap into your own resources and previous experience as well, in order to identify the best action in order for you to develop or tackle a specific challenge as well.
Thank you. You have such a deep understanding of coaching and of the mechanisms and psychological mechanisms also that that play out during within a coaching relationship. I really thank you for that. I would invite anyone who has any questions to pop them in the chat right now. So the question is, Kirsten, what impact have you noticed having internal coaches deployed within your organization has had on retention of employees? Is this metric being tracked? That's an interesting question because we vaguely mentioned it before. Go ahead, Kirsten.
Exactly, and it is actually, and thank you very much, Monica, for the question. I think it was actually one of the things I was about to say. It's actually very, very difficult to actually measure. And of course, we want to sort of have a matrix on also from an investment point of view. Okay, what's the outcome? And I think both when we talk about mentoring and when we talk about coaching, it's difficult to track on, okay, this is exactly where we reach the target, because often you see a long-term effect of the initiatives you have. But I would say, especially to have personally, I have been used because I'm a certified coach. I also have some coaching engagement within the organization, but it's a fine balance. Sometimes there are some situations where it's better to have an external coach, and this is where we have someone on consultancy contracts that we can tap into. But I've also had engagement um, with colleagues in my capacity as a coach, and I think they have been very, very useful. I think they have sometimes, and I've actually seen it, and now I'm thinking back to a couple of engagements I had where I have seen individuals overcoming their challenges and actually developing, and they are actually still within the organization. So I think sometimes by having internal coaches can have the benefit of understanding the context we are operating in as well, um, and can sometimes also diffuse some potential conflicts as well. So I think a balance of both to have the option to have some external resources, but also to have some internal resources. But I think by training supervisors and leaders in some of the coaching techniques is definitely fostering the whole listening to each other, giving the feedback, developing each other. But I don't have sort of a tracking saying, okay, this is the actual result. I don't know, Saba, if you have any insight from your previous experience as well. But I think it's one of the things is difficult to track. Um,
Yeah, you're right. It's difficult to track because, first of all, you don't always know who is it that wants to leave. And if they're planning to leave, yeah, that's not necessarily something that you would know. So, especially international organizations, where some organizations have very little mobility within, and other organizations that have a lot of field offices. So I don't think in cases like you said, where there has been a conflict and where there's really a blatant dissatisfaction from a staff member or somebody who has aspirations to do different things, then you would know if they were on the road to leave. What you do discover, and this is what Kirsten mentioned earlier, is you do see people that because they've been coached, they've started to believe in their own potential and in their own skills, and to see maybe a way to develop elsewhere, and they leave. But it's very difficult to, I agree that it's very difficult to track the retention. You also
yeah,
have to think, go ahead.
no, no, and I'm actually just sitting and now I remember a conversation I had a while ago with an individual within the organization that was a little bit frustrated, and this is because I also sit within the area of career development within the organization, and of
Mm-hmm.
course we don't have automated promotion, but we have of course the opportunity for individuals to apply for the positions. So in that conversation, the individual saying, "Oh, I've been here X amount of years and there's no development." And the first sort of 10 minutes of the conversation was really offloading a lot of the things that was not working. And I was listening, and then I asked the individual, "I'm so curious now to hear, so why are you still here?" And that sort of did, and I could see it in the individual's eyes. It was so interesting because suddenly it gave that reflection. Oh, yeah, and I could the energy just changed in the conversation. So going from being very negative, well, it was suddenly, oh yeah, no, but this is the reason why I'm here for the end beneficiaries, for the mandate, for what we are doing, and so I could suddenly see the individual sort of uplifting, taking the conversation to a different level, and I actually 6 months later, I saw the individual have managed to secure another position within the organization in a different area. So, of course, I would not take all the credit for that, but I think sometimes that also supervisors can ask those questions and that we remind each other, why are we still here? What is it our mandate? Why is it we go to work every day? Because by bringing that up gives that extra energy and engagement in our day-to-day work as well.
That's so inspiring, and it's so true, especially in times of so much stress. People sort of are overwhelmed by what needs to get done, and reconnecting them, why did they come to work for an international organization? What was the ideal and the vision behind there? I think that's really a refresher for our colleagues. And I think, we also face a reality that um, for example, in Geneva, I don't know what it's like in Copenhagen, but in Geneva, people who are international civil servants don't, unless they're European, they don't have access to the local market.
Mm.
So it's kind of, it's kind of a bit of they're stuck, quote unquote, in their organization. If for any reason they would want to leave, but they wouldn't have access easily to the local market. So I think even more importantly, it is to have coaches internally and peer coaches to be able to remind each other, why we're here, why we started working there, but also to open up their eyes on possibilities within the organization to maybe move around or maybe embark on a new project that would give them more fulfillment. So I think it's a very good example that you gave, and I hope we get lots more incidents like these in international organizations.
Exactly.
Right.
No, and I think this is also one of the things that, of course, I can see we actually have a lot of internal talent as well that manage to secure both on a similar level or levels up or sometimes levels down as well. So there's not
Mhm.
only one way when we talk about career development. And the mobility, but also sometimes just a stretch assignment to get into something else to explore a different area as well. So that's something we are also trying to develop even further. Yeah,
That's wonderful. Okay,
yeah,
that's great. Well,
yeah.
things are really moving in the right direction. And I'm so happy that we're doing this event for international workers because they don't all always get the opportunities to, be exposed to coaching. Not all organizations are like yours at UNOPS, where it's more widely spread. And, helping the helpers is always a great thing to do. So I'm very happy that we're doing this. I think you have a question for Kirsten. We still have a few minutes. Yes. So it says, I'll read it for everybody. Thank you for your insightful presentation, Kirsten. Could you please share with us how long the leadership development programs and peer career guide training programs at UNOPS have been running with the focus on coaching skills? So how long has it been running? What percentage of staff has participated? And what future plans do you have to expand or enhance the initiatives? I think you already developed on that, but the first two questions, how long has it been running and how many people have participated?
Yeah, and thank you very much for that. I think on the leadership programs they runs on various levels, and of course it's length. Some are 3 months, some are 6 months. So it really depends on what specific program. And of course, there's a lot of different elements within the leadership program. So it's not about coaching; it's about some of the elements are there, but there's a lot of other elements in the whole leadership programs as well. The peer career guides, that's a 6 weeks or 2 months virtual program that we run on an ongoing basis. So as I said, we've run it since 2020. We now have 40 active peer career guides. And when we see that that pool is going down, then we may do a new cohort. And it's development both for the peer career guides, but also for the individuals as well. So I think overall on our leadership programs, it's something we have something available for all the levels that we have within leadership within the organization. Specifically, the peer career guides program. This is where the main focus is the coaching techniques in order to support individuals with the focus on career development. So it's a 1 hour session that all UNOPS personnel can request. They get a list of they can see who all the guides are, and then they can request, can I have a session with you? And then they have a session with this individual, and hopefully they feel better equipped to have a career conversation with their supervisor and to plan their own career moving forward as well. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Kirsten. And let me just check if there are any other questions. Okay, have Beat who says, thank you so much for your inspiring sharing, Kirsten. Well done, UNOPS. You can pave the way for other organizations, definitely. Really, we can, you're a real example. And I'm wondering, Kirsten, would it be okay for UN organizations, colleagues in UN organizations to contact you? So I can connect you so that you can give them more detailed tips on how you went about it.
Yes, always. I think this is also how we involve. We also have a close partnership and forum, a learning and development forum with other UN agencies where we also share different initiatives and insights and also sharing mistakes. So other organizations are not doing the same. So also that's beyond coaching as well, but in general on learning and development, because I think it's important that we collaborate and learn from each other as well. So definitely feel free to reach out.
And thank you, Kirsten. And one just last question, because not everybody that's in our audience comes from the UN system, which is a civil service, that are big bureaucracy and machinery. Other people in the audience are in NGOs or I don't know everybody there, but we're not all UN staff. So what recommendation would you give for everybody else that has been so kind and warm in participating in this webinar and listening to this interview? What are your recommendations
In regards
to
what?
developing coaching in their workplace? Yeah.
I think it's about starting small and then trying to also seeing maybe just starting with, okay, what are some of the key elements um, in regards to the coaching. I mentioned some of the elements. It's about how do we practice open question? How do we practice active listening? How do we actually create rapport with each other? So trying to have some of those elements into the leadership programs, into when we onboard new supervisors as well, and start in that level, and then maybe have a couple of individuals certified as coaches, but also knowing that sometimes all coaching engagement is not suitable for internal coaches. This is where you may need to have some external coaching as well. Um, but also make it I think time bound as well. I think it's important when someone is taking up a coaching engagement to have it focused, saying, okay, what is it in particular you would like to develop in this sort of series of 3 to 4 sessions as well, for the individual to scope it, for the individual to have a good reflection on what is it I want to develop.
Yeah.
But start small and then you can expand. This is what we did in UNOPS. And of course, we wouldn't have been able to do it if it wasn't the support from our senior management, that they also saw the importance of developing and building the capacity of each individuals as well, in the end, in order to be able to deliver to our end beneficiaries.
Thank you very much for all your tips and your insights. And I think we're about ready to wrap up this interview. I want to thank all the people who were here and listen to these incredible insights from Kirsten. Please note that we will send you a feedback form at the end of the event, not right now, but at the end of the event, because we're a nonprofit. And so we need to know if what we're doing is serving you in the way that we aspire to serve you. And it will help us also develop the event for next year and do it better or bigger or whatever. So please do respond to the survey, and you will also receive a few emails when a replay of a webinar has been posted. And we'll do that next week. All of the webinars will be posted next week. There are also other interviews that have been pre-recorded, and we'll be posting them next week. So you'll be receiving emails from me. If for any reason you don't want to receive emails from me, just tell me so after the first dispatch. You can say, Saba, I never want to hear from you again. And I won't be offended. So that's the only way in which we use your information. So I want to thank you very much, Kirsten. and I hope to see you soon. I hope to meet you in person.
Exactly.
I might come to Copenhagen one of these days.
Definitely.
And I will let you know when the replay is done, of course, so that you can share it with your colleagues who will be immensely proud of you, I am sure.
Good. And thank you very much for this great initiative, Saba, to get coaching out, to get it implemented in more organizations, because it seems very simple, but it has such a powerful effect. So thank you very much for the invitation today.
Thank you. Thank you, Kirsten. A bientôt. See you soon.